But it just seems to me that Scott Boris's goal, Juan Soto's goal, is to get the most money, to make a precedent-setting deal.
Hey, here we go. It's the Inside Scoop, and it is powered by MLB Perfect Inning. More on the game coming up in a moment. Ken Rosenthal joining us right now. Ken, great to see you. I actually wanted to start with the article you put out this morning on Roki Sasaki. I mean, you can explain this better than I can, but how does this affect the rest of the international signing market, and are there any potential solutions to fix this problem?
Well, it's really complicated for starters, Scott. And what I wrote about was the real possibility that Roki Sasaki will wait until the next international signing period, which starts January 15th. And then the team that signs him will give him their entire international bonus pool and break the pre existing verbal agreements they have with a number of Latin American players. And the gist of the article is basically saying that's not right. That I know verbal agreements are not binding agreements. We all know that. We all know these agreements are also illegal, but every team does them. And they do them sometimes multi years in advance. They sign kids as young as 12. The whole system is a mess, and we all understand that, and it needs to be reformed. The international draft is one suggestion, one thing that ultimately might come to pass. There are others who believe an international draft is not necessary to clean it up in Latin America, but other things can be done. Regardless, I'm looking at this specific situation where these kids, with the chance to make life-changing money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even millions in certain cases, are going to be deprived of that because their team is going to sign Sasaki and essentially abandon them. That to me just seems not right.
Ken, you look obviously pale. You look weirdly pale for someone that was on vacation for a couple weeks. So I just want to know, like, you get outside, get some vitamin D in you, okay? Because
He says that to me every day.
your
So I put a
complexion looks
plant next
better
to
when you
me.
have a nice tan, Ken. But how do we change this? How do we change this? Because this is not only the team's going to take advantage of this, but Sasaki is going to take advantage of this to try to get more money. So is this a bargain thing that we're going to have to look at in the future when the next bargaining chip comes up, or because it seems unfair, like you said, to the Latin American players, and it's also a way for Sasaki to try to grab more money.
Well, excuse
Well,
me.
hello.
Hey,
He's not going to grab more money because what he can get is capped. So the most he can get in the next signing period is 7.5 million and only from a certain number of teams. So it's not that. Now, my suggestion to fix it is to remove him from the international signing bonus pool this year and just have that team that gets him sign him and get their entire international class. Now, some people might say that would be unfair. Well, it's, in my view, more unfair to the kids who would lose their deals. Now, granted, kids lose deals all the time down there for various reasons. They might show up something in a physical that the team doesn't like. They might not be performing the way the team likes. A team might lose some of its international budget. All kinds of things happen for teams to break these deals. Now, MLB will tell you that the solution is an international draft. And in the last round of bargaining, the union, for the first time, agreed to the concept of an international draft. They had fought it for years, but they made a counter proposal in which they accepted the draft. The two sides never agreed on the terms of that draft. That would eliminate, the draft would, the early signings and some of the shenanigans, hopefully a lot of the shenanigans that go on down there. The problem with the draft is that it's no longer a free market. It's basically you go where you're told to be. And baseball says that they would get more money to international players this way, but the union's point of view has been it still wouldn't be anywhere near what the domestic kids are getting. And we can go on and on with these arguments. Maybe they shouldn't get as much as the domestic kids because they're so much younger and less proven. It's a very, very complex situation. But again, AJ, today I just focused on the specific aspect of it. And this specific aspect of it to me reeks. And that's why I suggested a change.
all right. So then let's go over a simpler topic. Where will Juan go? So,
Please, so we can stop talking about this every day.
Soto's been meeting with all of the teams. I actually do think, Ken, that this is not going to drag on for a while. I think they've been very efficient picking a day to meet with each particular team, setting up, conversations, and then eventually an offers. So I listened to Fair Territory, of course, from the show that was released yesterday. But adding on, is it as simple as highest bidder wins, and it's likely Steve Cohen?
That is, to me, the most likely scenario. Now, as I said on Fair Territory yesterday, strange things happen in free agency, and you don't always anticipate where a player might go. And I used two examples yesterday, too, that I remember most from my career. Albert Pujols to the Angels in 2011 and Zach Greinke to the Diamondbacks in 2015. Those were shocking signings. I don't know that we've had one at that level in recent years. I guess when Semien and Seager went to the Rangers the same day, that was pretty surprising, but it wasn't at that level. So I don't rule out, one, the Yankees retaining Soto, two, the field, any other team, may it be the Phillies or any other club, taking a real run and maybe even signing him. But it just seems to me that Scott Boris's goal, Juan Soto's goal, is to get the most money, to make a precedent-setting deal. And that is entirely their right. It's what Soto worked for. It's why he turned down $440 million for 15 years from the Nationals a few years back, to get to the open market and establish his true value. So who's the guy best positioned to give him that? In my view, it's Cohen. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to end up that way, but if I were a betting man, that's the way I would bet.
Yeah, that's how I'm feeling too. Okay, let's go to Skenes. So he wins Rookie of the Year. And also, AJ was asking me, I genuinely didn't know the answer. Did you have a Rookie of the Year vote, or which one? Are you allowed to say which category?
He won't tell us. He won't tell us.
Don't worry.
No, I'll tell you which vote I had, but I won't tell you who I voted for. I had an AL MVP vote, and that's not till Thursday.
Right. So wait, actually, then we can dive into Rookie of the Year. I don't
Yes.
remember if you put this out there, but how do you feel about what the results were last night?
I'm glad you asked, Scott. I actually was surprised by both. I thought Kowser was going to win in the American League, though it was very close, and certainly Luis Gil had a really good case and is a worthy recipient. In the National League, that was the one that really surprised me, because as historic a campaign as Skenes had, as brilliant as he was, and no one can deny what he did, Jackson Merrill, from day one with the Padres, was in his own way equally brilliant. And he did some historic things too, not at the same level maybe as Skenes. So I thought, generally speaking, a voter, at least I'm speaking for myself here, prefers the position player to the pitcher in a circumstance like this. And we can argue, well, should they be grouped together? I don't mind them being grouped together. It's a great discussion. But I was surprised Skenes won a little bit. I thought Merrill was going to take this thing, and both were great candidates. Actually, Jackson Chourio was a great candidate, and in any other year, he might have been the winner. So congratulations to all of them, really. But both outcomes sort of surprised me, I must say.
All right. So first of all, Ken, you voted for Jose Abreu in the American League MVP. We know that. If you're surprised Paul Skenes won. But what was your first comment you said about Skenes' season? What was the first comment you said about Skenes' season that he had this year?
Historic?
Yep. Thank you. That's all I want to hear. Kratz, historic.
There's no question.
It's historic.
He did amazing
Ken
things.
said it.
And did he pitch the volume of innings maybe you would want from a Rookie of the Year? Maybe not. He'll had more innings, okay. But they handled him a certain way. And it's really interesting to me. I know you had Jason Mackey on right before, and the Pirates could have brought him up opening day, and they had their reasons not to. But I wrote an article with a couple of our other writers in August. This was with Stephen Nesbitt and Zach Meisel. And we wrote about the possibility of the Pirates shutting down Skenes. And the reason to shut him down, the temptation to shut him down, would have been to prevent him from finishing first or second in the Rookie of the Year, and then prevent him from getting this full year of service. Now, they didn't do that, and they deserve some credit for that. Now, obviously, if they had done it, it would have reeked of service time manipulation and all that, but we've seen teams do this kind of thing all the time. The Pirates kept pitching him. They cut back his workload, and it worked out great for Skenes. Didn't work out so great for the Pirates because they didn't have him at the start of the year. They don't get the pick, but they did do the right thing by him and by the sport.
So the Pirates moved in the right direction until the last month of the season when they did the Rowdy Tellez thing and they did the IKF thing. Which is more indicative of the way the Pirates are going? Because the Rowdy Tellez and the IKF thing are pretty much on par with the Bob Nutting run teams. But the Paul Skenes and Jason Mackey even pointed out they brought Jared Jones up to start the season, and he was on the opening day roster, something they normally would not have done. So those two positive things, are they overshadowed by the negative things? And is the organization moving in that direction?
I would say the organization is best reflected by what they did with Rowdy Tellez and IKF. And until proven otherwise, that's what people should think of them. And yes, with Skenes, they did the right thing. But my gosh, if they had done the wrong thing, it would have been a national controversy. It would have been crazy, right? And with Jared Jones, okay, they started him at opening day, but that's what you should do with a player who is worthy of being on your roster opening day. Now, Skenes was a different situation in that, as Jason said, he had an innings limit to deal with, and they were going to need to cut him off at some point. So either do it at the start of the season or the end of the season. They chose to do it at the start. The Pirates are the Pirates, and it's interesting. I heard Jason say, well, I'd be happy to see them get a first baseman like Goldschmidt, some bullpen help, and bring back McCutchen. No, I understand that from his perspective, covering the team, that's what's realistic. But my gosh, as you guys said, they should be doing and aiming for bigger things. This rebuild has been going on, I believe, for 6 years now. It's time for them to step up. Other teams have made better efforts, Kansas City being most notable among them. Now, you've seen Cleveland operate kind of like Pittsburgh does, but Cleveland does a better job overall with its organization.
And Ken, they probably have 2-3 years tops to capitalize on this situation. And that's also assuming healthy arms. And we know how our sport operates. You know what I'm saying? So really it's now, right? We don't know if a pitcher's going to go down with an injury. It just happens to half the pitchers in our sport these days. So the other question I have for you that I was going up against Jason with was, it's been a minute since the postseason. Isn't it a better problem to make the playoffs and then make that decision down the stretch on how Skenes is doing at that point? This is a big, big dude. I've been around him, right? Like, sure, there would be concerns. Is it going to lead to injury down the road? But you were wasting bullets in the minor leagues, however you want to script it, early on this season. And he looked like he did not belong there anymore. So I still have this thought in the back of my head where they go, let's bring him up mid-May. He probably won't win Rookie of the Year at that point. Then we get the service time, and if we happen to be good, we get him in the playoffs. There's no, in my mind, excuse or reason for me to think otherwise based on how they've operated.
No, I agree. And they had their reasons for starting him in the minors. Remember, he hadn't pitched all that much professionally. Really, he had very few professional innings. And I understood the logic of giving him a foundation, but as Jason said, in hindsight, sure, it would have been absolutely in their best interest to start him at the beginning of the year and then see what happened. You could do it that way too. And as it turns out, we all know they did not contend for a playoff spot. They were who they always are. So, Scott, I'm with you, but I thought the way they handled him in general, the proof is in the pudding. The guy won Rookie of the Year. He was brilliant. Granted, the team did not advance to where they wanted it to, but I don't know that starting him on the opening day roster would have made a difference in that regard.
Ken, do you know what these are? You know what this is, Ken?
I'm looking. Baseball cards?
Yes. Yeah. Do you know, have you heard about the Paul Skenes baseball card?
I have.
So when I open this box today and I get that, should I take the 30 years of 2 tickets behind home plate, A Night with Livy Dunn, and all the other stuff, or should I take the money? I knew you would say that. Yeah. Gosh, I knew you would say that.
30 years behind home plate? I mean, what is that?
30 years. That's 30 years.
Like 3 playoff games.
AJ, somebody pointed this out on X. Where behind home plate? In the lower level or the upper level?
It should be up there above the press box, which is like in the moon.
Yeah. Fair question.
I'd call them and say, give me the damn team. Or I wouldn't even say, give me the team. I'd say, sell the team and I'll give you the card. Tell your owner to sell the team.
If you sell it for like a couple $100,000, you know, then maybe you could help the Pirates buy. Oh, wait, never mind. They wouldn't even spend it.
Exactly. Sorry. All right. So here, I'm gonna spin this, Ken. So Pirates fans are likely to be disappointed, and we all feel for them. Do you think there are some fan bases that should be excited based on early conversations or what we're seeing? Like, I'm trying to look at what you said on Fair Territory about the Juan Soto sweepstakes and think, should Blue Jays fans be excited that they're going to make a potential bid and probably won't get him, but that means they're going to plan on making some big moves? And of course, same with Red Sox fans. Like, could this be a change?
I would say Red Sox fans should be more excited. It sounds to me, based on the conversations I've had, everything I've read, everything I've heard, that they are, if not full throttle this offseason, they're at least pushing the lever toward that. And they seemingly have learned their lesson. They know they have work to do. To me, Soto is a great answer, but not necessarily the answer. If they get a big left-handed starter, maybe another starter, fortify their bullpen, with all the kids they have coming, they might be in a pretty good spot next year. So I would say their fans should be excited. I don't want to give them false hope, and I'm not inside their executive offices, obviously, but their actions so far indicate that they are serious this time. The Blue Jays, I've been saying this for months now. I don't get it. In my view, they should probably at least retool here. Trade Vlad, maybe trade Bichette. Actually, trade both. Trade Vlad, trade Bichette, and then kind of just pick up the pieces from there. Because right now, what you're looking at, okay, they're probably going to make a big move or two. And maybe next year they do bounce back. And I understand management's argument that that was a bad year last year. We've got too good talent not to compete in a better way. But even if you do that, you're still losing Vlad. You're still losing Bichette. You're still losing Chris Bassett, all potential free agents. You've got issues in your bullpen. You've got a weak farm system. You are not in a great place as an organization. And the point of what I wrote yesterday was, why would Soto, all things being equal, even really look at them? If they pay the most money, God bless them. But are they going to outbid Steve Cohen? I don't know. Maybe they will. And maybe Soto says, I'll do it. But they'd be in a lot stronger position with Soto if they had Vlad Jr. under contract. And they have been unable to do that. So that's where I see those teams. Another team that I'm interested to see, I don't know that I'm excited for their fans because I don't know you can put it in those terms, but Detroit is in a position here now to take another step forward. They did some incredible things last year. We all know that, especially the final 2 months. They have a good young core in place, and of course, they've got the likely AL Cy Young winner, Tariq Skubal, for 2 more years. It's time for them to ramp it up a little bit, do what the Pirates have not done, and do what other teams in their position have not necessarily done, Kansas City being one of the notable exceptions. So I'm looking at Detroit and wondering what they're going to do too.
Those are all great ones. Okay, I got one more team to bring up because it's based on your report from the weekend with the Reds and the Royals and the potential interest in exchange with players that include Brady Singer and Jonathan India. So I think India is an obvious fit for KC if they can pull it off. On the Cincinnati side, I'm curious how the Nick Martinez dynamic changes things. And I don't know if you know this for a fact or just have an inclination. Do you think the Reds expected that he was going to accept the qualifying offer? They're already, I think, doing my math, past where their payroll was last year. I think they actually could be good next year even without doing a ton. But I don't think they expected this because they're going to be in a tough spot with budgeting for the rest of the offseason.
They are. And certainly when you make a qualifying offer, you have to be prepared for the player to accept. So in that sense, I'm sure they were. Martinez being a Scott Boras client, it's a bit of a surprise that anytime a Scott Boras client chooses not to go on the open market, it was the same with Bellinger earlier this offseason. But at the same time, if you're the Reds, you still want Brady Singer. You still had a season in which a lot of your starting pitchers got hurt. Depth was a problem. You need as much as possible. And Brady Singer is a quality major league pitcher. So I can certainly see the logic of adding another arm. And in that scenario, they wouldn't be taking on that much salary. I think India is $5 million this year, and Brady Singer is going to be in the $8-9 million range. So it's not a dramatic step forward as far as payroll is concerned. I still see the logic from the Reds' perspective, even with Martinez back in the fold.
Okay, love that. Well, thank you so
I'm not
much,
saying it's
Ken.
going to
Good
happen,
to see you.
Scott. And
Right.
I want to be careful with this. Obviously, we wrote that conversation is taking place, and that both those teams are looking at other similar type players as well and parallel type deals. So that was just an indication or a glimpse of one thing that could happen. And I'm not saying it will, I'm not saying it won't, but you see the logic from both sides.
Mm-hmm. Hey, it's
Ken,
mid-November.
you like my
No
new
one's
plant?
signed.
Let's get to the real thing. You like my new friend here, my emotional support plant?
Anything that makes AJ nicer, Ken, right?
Is he nicer because of that plan? I don't know.
I was nice to you
A
today.
little bit.
You were
a little
nice,
bit.
AJ.
He started out a
I appreciate it,
little
man.
cold, but yeah, exactly. Well, Ken, good to see you. I'll be with you on Thursday for Fair Territory. We'll see you then.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Inside Scoop, Fair Territory host. There's the show. Check it out. There's a brand new one that just was released yesterday. Obviously, especially in the offseason, all still applies today. So go
But you're
give that a
hosting
listen.
on Thursday, right?
I am with Ken. I've done it before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've done a few before.
Congratulations on the call to the big leagues.
Thank you. Finally get that.
Try to be stoic.
Yeah, I'm going to bring my plant with me. This segment is powered by MLB Perfect Inning 24. Scan that QR code on the screen right now, and you can download the game for free on your mobile device. Get the best baseball game in the palm of your hands and all the latest from the 2024 season.
Becoming a champion takes perfection. Perfect defense.
Seager gets there. My goodness.
Perfect base running.
Eager on the move. That was tremendous.
And my favorite, a perfect swing.
This one is history. Franchise-changing player.
Are you ready to become a champion? Make it perfect with MLB Perfect Inning 24.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.